and share your space with them. That's how committed we are. Of course, Larry and Sergey and myself will not be doing this because we have clauses in our contract that will not allow that. Not jokes about Google employees asking, "Can I move to Canada after the election?" She goes on to seriously discuss the options available to Google employees who wish to leave the country. How about that? If you want to leave, I completely understand why you would do it. Here are your options. What a great company to work for. Let's see, what else? 2312, Naughton does acknowledge diversity of opinion and political persuasion, and notes that she has heard from conservative Google employees who say they haven't felt entirely comfortable revealing who they are. You think? And urged tolerance. Several months later, the company would fire James Damore, allegedly for disagreeing with progressive narratives. It's true. Tolerance. I urge you tolerance. Tolerance is such a scam. We know why? Because tolerance has its limits. Right? You can practice tolerance, but at some point, guess what? You become intolerant. I'm sorry. I've been intolerant as much as I can. I can no longer tolerate this. I can no longer tolerate this. The actual spiritual doppelganger of tolerance is compassion. It's a very different vibration. Let's see. At 27, responding to a question about filter bubbles, Sundar Pichai promises to work towards correcting Google's role in them. At 27:30, Sergey Brin praises an audience member's suggestion of increasing matched Google employee. Well, I was actually make sure I'm good here. Yeah, we're good. Hey, hi Judy, what's happening? Just wanted to check in the chat room. Let's see. At 34:40, Brin compares Trump voters to extremists, arguing for a correlation between the economic background of Trump supporters and the kinds of voters who back extremist movements. Brin says that voting is not a rational act and that not all Trump's support can be attributed to income disparity. He suggests that Trump voters might have been motivated by boredom rather than legitimate concerns. No, they're motivated by the fact that a lot of them are out of work. They have to work 3 fucking jobs. They're not like you Google employees. If you're going to have a filter bubble, you should use it inside of your own company. Okay? Use it inside of your own company. Use your filter bubbles. No, they're not bored. They're people's lives who've been wrecked by globalists. An employee asked if Google is willing to invest in grassroots hyper-local efforts to bring tools and services and understanding of Google products and knowledge so that people can make informed decisions that they are best for themselves. Pichai's response: Google will ensure its educational products reach segments of the population they are not currently fully reaching. Could you imagine the person asking that question? He responds in positive, like, oh yes. That's such a good question. Such a good response. Oh, the world is making sense again. Okay, here we go. Google, it's 1 hour and 1 minute and 15 seconds. The Google employee states, speaking to white men, there's an opportunity for you right now to understand your privilege, and urges employees to go through the bias-busting training. Read about privilege. Read about the real history of oppression in our country. He urges employees to discuss the issues you're passionate about during Thanksgiving dinner. And don't back down and laugh it off when you hear the voice of oppression. Speak through metaphors. Every executive on stage, the CEO, the CFO, 2 VPs, the 2 co-founders applaud the employee. Speak through metaphors, meaning confuse the fuck out of the people that you're having a dinner with, that you're supposed to be celebrating family with, and in general be an ass. An audience member asked if the executives see anything positive about this election. The audience of Google employees and the executive on stage burst into laughter. Boy, that's a really tough one right now. John Dvorak, who was one of the pioneers of Silicon Valley, this was his tweet. Oddly creepy, especially when the CFO begins to sob for Hillary. But the underlying message makes it obvious that Google does not share any traditional American values, but is all in for globalism and one world government. These are Google values. A shame, really. This guy was one of the founders. Dvorak is one of the founders of Silicon Valley and Silicon Valley culture. It's true. They are all in for globalism. This is what the search engine, Google, the apparatus, is invested in. And it is troubling. Absolutely troubling. The video has been removed, so you cannot watch it. I would have played some of it, a portion of it, but I wanted to share it with you. Now, there's another piece that I wanted to sort of attach onto this, and that has to do with the fact that even though theoretically we have had, in many regards, a cultural revolution in this country since 2016, whether you like it or not, whether people are into it, whether they want to vomit, puke, there was a cultural revolution that did take place. And the other side is doing everything in its power to completely stop it in its tracks. And even people on the inside of the so-called cultural revolution are doing the same thing. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about is how, in many ways, the people who actually voted for Trump are getting fucked. They're getting fucked from the Trump side of things, by inside of the State Department, whether it's people like Mike Mattis or Kelly or Jeff Sessions, whoever, they're getting fucked. I'm sorry, they are, and they're sort of getting fucked on the left because the left can't stand them, and they'll want to spirit cook them, to be honest with you, right? So here's where I feel that there is a real sense of, I would call it alarm, but it's close to a crisis. Because I feel as though that even though on some level this whole Trump circus, in some regards, has been actually really good to continue to have people going through this process of opening up and waking up. But I don't feel like there's a lot of real beachhead support for the process that's been taking place. You know, early on in Trump's administration, there were announcements about companies like Train or Ford or whoever, bringing their products and their companies and everything back to America. And we don't get that anymore. Have you noticed that? We haven't had anything like that announced for almost 2 years. And what's happened is that the economic program of the U.S. has been one of defensiveness and attacking. Well, defensiveness that's become an offensive maneuver, and attacking other countries through tariffs, sanctions, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, which is a globalist move in a lot of ways. And this is where I think they're falling short and flat. And whether it's Trump listening to Henry Kissinger or Trump listening to his globalist buddies like Wilbur Ross or Mnuchin or whomever, Jared Kushner, it's the wrong advice. It is absolutely the wrong advice. And Trump has been so entirely defensive and critical about what he shares and how it's being interpreted, which I think is not a bad thing. I mean, putting the media on its heels, I'll applaud it every single time. But it feels to me like the real success stories, the areas where there could be traction, where there's a company opening up here, there's another company opening up here, where there's an investment in Main Street versus Wall Street, where people can speak about their successes on a personal level. That's not there. It's not there. And to that extent, I feel like that the I don't want to call them megas, but the people that elected Trump and the people that are really looking for, more conservative values. Let's just say it for what it is, conservative values. They're looking for less government. They're looking for more self-determination. Maybe less government to the point where there is no government at all, which I think would be the best ththing, to be honest with you. That's a whole other story. But we're in this system and we have this now. This is where I believe the revolution, the cultural revolution, is falling flat, and I believe also is in jeopardy. Because if there aren't what I would call tangible victories, if there aren't metrics that are really adding to the optics of this thing, I believe that you can only go so far on sloganeering and having trust in POTUS. Instead of this dream of removing the threats, which is not necessarily a bad thing, by the way. I think what the people need and what this cultural revolution needs are success stories. That whatever has taken place is working. You can look to the economy, you can look to the numbers, and they can actually, I think, speak to some of that. By and large, that is a part of the narrative that's gone away, and we need to bring it back, and we need to bring it back in a way where it's a celebration of people taking control of their lives, taking control of their economies, and having this participation, greater participation, with the government as a part of that story. If that doesn't happen, I just don't think you can continue to run the same program based on sloganeering and polarization. Let's check in on the chat room, see what we got. And people should visit the Apple. Absolutely, I totally agree with that. Absolutely. I find myself not posting things or speaking out because there is no talking. You can't talk with people anymore. Go to the market. You go to the market plots or the piazza or whatever. You'll get hit over. You'll get a condom filled with pee thrown at you or something like that, right? Absolutely. All right, listen. I'm going to get on out of here. I'm going to let you guys get into your day. I just wanted to bring that up and show you, give you a little peek behind the scenes, and to give you a glimpse as to what Google's role is. It's a lot more nefarious than you might have ever thought about or contemplated. With that, use your head to discern what's real, your heart to stay open to what's possible. I'm Robert Phoenix.
You're listening to 15 Minutes of Flame with Robert Phoenix.